Hey, everybody, welcome back. It's Michael Smerconish. Thanks so much for being here. In a couple of minutes, Dave Bego is going to join me. I met him in Indianapolis at WXNT when we were there not that long ago and had the privilege of meeting a lot of folks who are affiliated with our Indianapolis talk radio station, which I guess rebranded itself since I've been there as the Fox affiliate for radio in Indianapolis. Anyway, who is this guy? He's a very successful small businessman, and he has built a company with thousands of employees. I'll let him tell you, but they're in the janitorial business. And they had this multi-year battle with SEIU, the Service Employee International Union. It's quite a story, and I think it's timely because through his story, if I can get him to tell it in good fashion, and I know I will, you're going to learn more about card check and the EFCA debate than by watching any of the Sunday morning programs. So that's coming up. It's an Indiana businessman who has had to battle unionization of his small business, and I think there are lessons that he'll be able to share with us that apply to the card check debate that's now going on in Washington. And also, later this hour, yesterday in the Washington Post...
You're listening to the Michael Smerconish program.
Hey, it's Michael Smerconish. Welcome back. I have a newspaper headline from Indiana in my hands which says this: an Indiana businessman attracts Senate attention in his fight with powerful union. That man is Dave Bego. He's the president and CEO of EMS. Hey, Dave, thanks for being on the program.
Hey, Mike, how you doing today?
What is EMS?
Executive Management Services. We are a commercial cleaning company, janitorial company, if you may.
How'd you come into business? How long's it been around?
Well, I started the company in May of 1989, and since then we've grown from that, which was basically myself, to about 5,000 employees in 36 states across the country.
That's fabulous success. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So 5,000 employees cleaning what types of buildings? The commercial establishments, or do you do residential as well?
No, we do all commercial. We do mainly large facilities, Fortune 500 type of companies. We do research, medical, manufacturing, corporate facilities, high-rises. How
hard to find good people to work in that kind of job?
It's difficult at times. It depends on the economy. In today's economy, it's not quite as tough, but when things get better, it's a challenge.
So you're a non-union shop?
Yes, we are.
How hard has it been for you to remain non-union?
Well, it was not difficult up till about 5 years ago when the Service Employees International Union tried to organize our people in the Midwest.
That's the SEIU?
That's correct.
So 5 years ago, they were knocking on your door, so to speak.
Yeah, they sent me a letter and wanted to talk to me. Said they had things they thought they could do to help my employees, and I ignored them for a while. But we eventually they kept pestering me with calls and emails, and I finally met with them.
And what became of that meeting? I want you to walk me through the sort of the background facts that you've written about in your book titled "The Devil at My Doorstep."
Well, I had to backtrack a little bit. Back in the mid to late 90s, we as a company decided that we had to do things to take care of our employees, and that kind of comes from my background of being agribusiness and that prior to that. But we started providing our people health care opportunities and holiday pay and vacation pay and those type of things, which puts us at a little disadvantage in our field because obviously we have to pay more. But I think it helped us grow. I think it helped us capture some of the contracts that we have over the years. And so we were kind of surprised in 2005 when we received this letter from the SEIU. And quite honestly, when they organize, it's kind of indiscriminate. They just go after everybody. They don't look at contractors and say, oh, yeah, these guys are doing a pretty good job.
They're just looking for bodies.
That's right. They're looking for membership. They're looking for union dues. And so anyway, they contacted us and kept pestering me until I finally agreed to a meeting, actually 2 meetings. And the second meeting, which was in September of 2006, was here in Indianapolis with their Midwestern president and a guy out of Cleveland, their contract manager. And we're sitting having lunch, and it's cordial. And they look at me after a while, and they say, Mr. Bego, we've talked to you about a neutrality agreement, and we've sent you a copy.
By the way, what is that for the uninitiated?
Well, a neutrality agreement is the precursor of the Employee Free Choice Act, the genesis, if you may. What it is basically is it eliminates the secret ballot election, number one, and goes to card check. Number two, it has language that increases the contract negotiation. It puts a gag order on employers like myself so that we can't talk to the employees about the union organizing. And it has some other features in it, but one of the most, besides eliminating the secret ballot election, the most, what I think, onerous parts of it is that I have to give them a copy or a list of all my employees and their contact information, home addresses, which they'll use to go and intimidate and harass them into signing union cards.
In other words, and let me just slow you down, because I think people are going to be fascinated by this, but they probably don't understand the very basics of it. As things stood on the day that the lunch began, if there were to be a ballot, it would have been a secret ballot of your employees as to whether they wanted to join SEIU or some other union.
That's correct. And
so they're now saying to you, hey, Dave, give up your right as an employer to be governed by the outcome of a secret ballot. Instead, sign this neutrality agreement, the essence of which will mean that no one's identity will be protected. And as a matter of fact, let us know where all your folks live.
That's absolutely correct. And
so what next?
Well, so we're sitting there, and they looked at me and they said, "You're not going to sign the neutrality agreement, are you?" And I said, "I have no intention of signing the neutrality agreement. I don't think it's my right to give my employees' rights to a secret ballot election away. That's taking away American freedoms, and I'm not going to do it." I said, "What I will do is, if you want to have an election, let's have an election. Let's have it now. And if you win, I'll negotiate a contract and live with it. If you lose, leave us alone." And the gentleman from Cleveland looked at me and says, "Mr. Bego, we like conversation, but we embrace confrontation. And if you're not going to sign a neutrality agreement, we're going to start attacking you, your employees, your customers, and your buildings in the next 30 to 60 days."
And did they?
Yeah, it actually took about 90 days, but by the end of November, early part of December, they were handing out handbills, picketing our buildings, sending letters to our customers, approaching our employees and putting pressure on them to sign union cards, and it just kept getting worse. We had 40 to 50 unfair labor practices filed against us in about a 12-month period. We had OSHA complaints filed against us. We had they put up
They played hardball.
Yeah, they did.
And how did it all end?
Well, we came out ahead. As we went through this into late 2007, our people were not interested. They tried to get our people to go on strike, and they got 10 out of about 400 in the Indianapolis area to go out on strike. Was
there ever an election?
No.
Never had the election because they knew they'd lose if there were an election?
Absolutely. In fact, I took out an ad in the newspaper here, the Indianapolis Star, half-page ad, said, "SEIU, please fish or cut bait. Let's have an election."
Mm-hmm.
And, said, if you win, I'll live with it. If I lose, okay, you guys pack your bags and go. They would never have the election.
This is Dave Bego. He's the president and CEO of EMS. EMS is an executive management services company. They do janitorial work. He's got 5,000 employees, 36 different states, and he's telling us about his battle over a period of years with SEIU, which he's recounted in his book, The Devil at My Doorstep. Hey, Dave, what I want you to do is now explain to folks what's the significance of what has gone on in your business to the legislation currently contemplated by the Senate, Card Check, Employee Free Choice Act.
Well, the legislation, EFCA, Employee Free Choice Act, is kind of stalled right now. But what's happening that's even more concerning is that behind the scenes, the current administration has recessed, appointed Craig Becker to the National Labor Relations Board. He is a 17-year SEIU attorney, and he's known to be pretty radical in his writings and thinking. And he has made the comment that he believes he can, in effect, put the Employee Free Choice Act in effect by rewriting national labor relations law.
Without there being a Senate vote?
That's right.
What would be the impact? Because I think you explained this well. We can all understand what went on in your business. They wanted you to relinquish your right as an employer to be governed by a secret ballot. If EFGA were to pass, what would be the impact on the scenario you just laid out for us? What would have been handled differently?
Well, we really would have been at their mercy because
there wouldn't have been a secret ballot.
That's right, and the stories I tell in my book are really disturbing. How they went after some of our employees and forced them to sign union cards. One lady here in Indianapolis, another lady that didn't want to sign it and did because they put so much pressure on her. People they followed home, knocked on their doors and pushed their way into their living rooms. Anything they could do, offer them money, coercion, anything they could think of to get people to sign cards. And that's what they'll do if the Employee Free Choice Act goes through. And quite honestly, most people, especially people in our industry who are quiet people that just want to do their jobs and be left alone, are going to be forced to sign cards. And the company's not going to be able to combat that. I mean, it's
how would the mechanics of it work? What do you mean sign cards? Break it down, because you're at a different level. You deal with this every day, and you're reaching folks who are first time acquainted with the subject.
Well, what'll happen is the union has their union sign-up cards.
Right.
And what they'll do is, under the Employee Free Choice Act, all they would have to do is get 50% of a company's employees plus one, a bare majority, to sign union cards. And once they do that, they present it to the company, and the company would automatically be unionized and have to negotiate a contract.
Without a vote?
Without a vote.
Whereas today it requires a vote, and it's a secret vote.
That's right. And today, for them to petition for a vote, they have to have 30% of the people sign union cards. Now, normally they won't do that unless 60-70% of the people sign union cards.
Because they know that they won't hold up.
That's right. That's right. And the problem today that the unions are having is that the elections they do get, they win about 60% of them. Mm-hmm. The problem is they're not getting very many elections anymore.
Got it.
And that's why they want card check. And
are they leaving you alone now?
Yeah, because we in November of 2007 we turned the tables. We filed 33 unfair labor practices against them in one day.
What's the total cost, if you know, of all of this to you?
Well, in legal fees alone, it's been over $1 million.
Wow.
That doesn't count our time and other costs involved. So it's been expensive.
The Devil at My Doorstep. David A. Bego is the author. Thanks so much for telling the story. I think it brings home exactly what some of the issues are should EFGA be resurrected.
Well, Michael, thank you very much. I appreciate you giving me the time to explain it. It's a issue that I think is important, not just for businesses, but for employees, because I think it takes away personal freedoms, and I'm all for personal freedoms.
I'm all for them having the right to unionize if there's a vote, but I think the vote ought to be behind closed doors in the same way that we exercise our own franchise when we go out and cast ballots.
Absolutely, and if I may, just quickly, we did have a vote at a facility down in Ohio a little over a year ago, and the union there, which was a different union, and I talk about in my book, they did it by the book. They petitioned for election. We had the election in 42 days. I told our attorneys I want everything done by the book, and tell the union we want it done by the book, and they did. And we had the election in 42 days, and our people voted the union out 2-1. And it shows that the system that we have in place today does work if both sides play by the rules.
Thank you so much for being on the program.
Okay, well, thank you, Michael.
That's David Bego, and his company is called EMS. What an interesting story.